In the last decade, as the populist right made advances across the West, Justin Trudeau bucked the trend, leading an unashamedly liberal leftist government and surviving. During the first Trump term, he was the counterpoint to the anti-immigrant, climate-sceptic agenda on the other side of Canada's long border. Trump liked to needle Trudeau. He recently referred to him as the governor of the great state of Canada. But not only was Trump turning against him, so too were the majority in Canada. The last few years have been difficult, to say the least. Canada is running a huge budget deficit. 3 million immigrants have arrived in just over 3 years, and his carbon taxes are deeply unpopular. Today, he finally bowed to the pressure, announcing his resignation outside his residence at Rideau Cottage in Ottawa.
My friends, as you all know, I'm a fighter. Every bone in my body has always told me to fight because I care deeply about Canadians, I care deeply about this country, and I will always be motivated by what is in the best interest of Canadians. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Trudeau says he will stay on until his party chooses a new leader. In the meantime, he's prorogued Parliament, suspending its business until March. That effectively means the government remains in power. But all parliamentary activity, from existing bills, committee investigations, all that sort of thing, comes to a halt. In the last hour, we spoke to his former Environment Minister, Catherine McKenna, who was the first to call on Trudeau to go.
So it was really to protect our policies. And so now here we are. I think there's an opportunity for a new leader. It's going to be very hard, but elections are about choices. And I think that we have good people that are going to step up and run, and Canadians will be able to choose.
Colin, let me start with you. Is this a domestic issue, an end of a 10-year cycle, or is it part of a bigger political trend across the West?
I don't think it's part of a political trend. I mean, if we look at election results, we've not seen the right in power in Britain, in Ireland, in France, in Spain, in Germany. Yes, of course, there's been a rise of what some people call a populist right, but I don't call them that, the far right. That's something to be recognised. I don't think this is the case in Canada. I think there are two things here. Firstly, the longer you're a leader, the more difficult it becomes to maintain your position. You're like chewing gum. At the start, you're great. At the end, there's no taste to it. And you have to refresh yourself, and problems pile up. But in this instance, for example, Justin Trudeau faced too many problems. He was a drain on his party's electoral prospects. And when that happens, there's no way out of it. I don't think either he was helped by the way he dealt with the situation with Donald Trump. You know, you can't placate Donald Trump. If you go there trying to placate him, you can see it as a sign of weakness. And I think that's exactly what happened with Justin Trudeau. I don't think he's going to be popular in Canada for not standing up for Canada, as it were, and saying, hang on a second, we don't want to be part of the US. I don't think that helped him either. But yeah, inevitably, when you've been in power a long time, your ability to refresh yourself and your ability to appeal in the same way as you did at the beginning does diminish.
Leslie, just in terms of what happens next, some Canadians have already been in touch with me who are not Trudeau supporters. They're pretty annoyed that he's staying till March, that Parliament is prorogued. It's a sort of status quo situation for 3 months when a lot of the country just wants elections and a change.
Well, it's a very difficult time not to have a leader in place in Canada. We know that Canada is, on the chopping block for incoming President Donald Trump on the question of tariffs. So having that sort of vacuum, even if he is still in power, not having Parliament, knowing that he's leaving makes Canada very vulnerable. But, to this question of whether there's a trend, it's not so much about a trend towards the far right. There is an anti-incumbency trend. And Trudeau has certainly been hit by some of the same complaints that American voters and others made, which is the cost of living is too high. He got caught up in the immigration and anti-immigration wave when he was initially sort of willing to open the gates and faced a backlash for that. And then Trump, yes, becomes a source of division for leaders debating how best to respond. And Chrystia Freeland, his finance minister, clearly had a very different view of this. She's got a huge amount of respect. And I think when she resigned, that was really kind of a final moment in the lead up to what is a very significant decision, again, at a very, very difficult time.
Well, as you both suggest, for weeks Donald Trump had been trolling Justin Trudeau, threatening him with that 25% tariff. But Trudeau is by no means the only target.